Alright, here we have my latest build, the Xaser VI case. Latest build for myself, that is. I build computers for other people occasionally, but this one I finally got put together a couple months ago. It's a gaming system that I play a lot of Left 4 Dead on. So if you're a Left 4 Dead player, come look for me. I'm MX Gladiator. I'll be glad to play a few rounds with you. And anyway, just thought I'd kind of show off this case a little bit and just kind of show you what I'd done building it. Anyway, let's take a look up front here real quick. LG CD drive, or DVD RW drive. Kind of simple for this case. For a gaming build, I don't really have a use for anything a whole lot better than that. Maybe it'd be nice to put a Blu-ray player in there eventually, but about all I need for now. Up here we've got the inverter that you can see for the cold cathode. It's actually sitting right on top of my power supply. It was kind of a unique place to hide it up there, and it has a little blue glow that kind of shows through the top mesh of the case. We'll remove the side panel here and we'll take a look inside. Okay, inside we have a start off with a 750 watt Thermaltake Tough Power. It's a modular supply. 750 watts is not overkill by any means, but it supplies the power I need for this system without sacrificing any. It does a really good job. Ran all of my cables on this build directly back behind the back panel here. I like to see a nice clean look in my cases and builds. Don't like a lot of clutter and a lot of cables and stuff going every which way in them. Down here we've got my AIO all-in-one water cooler. Decent little cooler, I guess. I'll talk about that in a minute. Underneath that we've got the E8500 Core 2 Duo. Nice processor. It's not an i7 by any means, but really does a pretty good job. It's a fairly decently fast, Core 2 Duo. Definitely plays Left 4 Dead without a problem. I also play like Crysis with it. Can run with this setup, can run Crysis on high settings and maintain about 50 to 60 frames per second. I've got 2 gigs right now of G-Skill. 2 gigs is a little under what I actually need for this this build. I'd like to go up to 4 gigs with that. Just split it up into 1 gig sticks. 4 gigs is plenty for a gaming machine. Running Windows 7 Ultimate, 2 gigs is not quite enough. So we'll definitely be upgrading that soon. Just haven't done that yet. As you can see, I ran all of my cables through the existing opening in this case. It had just a stock opening in here that I decided to go ahead with. A lot of times I like to drill a hole like right in this area here for the 24-pin power supply. Just it kind of hides it a little bit better. But on this build I didn't mind seeing it there for my own purposes. It looked pretty neat still. Got my SATA cables down there running to my hard drives. I've actually got 2 160 Kaveri Blue drives, Western Digital drives that are in RAID 0 right now. They're plenty fast for what I need. It gives me enough space for a few games. And 250 gig storage drive. I don't like storing anything important obviously on a RAID 0. It's kind of a bad idea, but definitely the speed is worth it for a gaming machine. That is the 750i. It's an MSI motherboard. Does a really good job. Has some decent overclocking capabilities, although on this in particular machine I was not very successful with overclocking. I just need to play with it some more and get that overclocked. I'd like to see at least 3.6 on that CPU. Here's my GTX 260 SLI. Nice little setup, 2 BFG cards. Both running slightly over clock speeds. I don't remember exactly what I have those set at right now, right off the top of my head. I'll do a video later on overclocking and temperatures, and just show you what I got going on there. You can see I've got my power cables for the video cards. Both ran through the stock opening there again. I normally like to take these two top cables and run them down under the bottom, but it just didn't quite provide enough room, and these cables were a little bit short even with the extenders on there. I didn't buy extenders that were quite long enough. I should have bought some longer ones. I probably will eventually pull those out of there and put some longer ones on it. I just didn't have them when I put this together. Not a real big deal. They're actually out of the way of the opening on the video card. The airflow for the card is not really blocked off by those whatsoever, so I just went ahead and left them for now. Speaking of airflow on this case, we've got a 140mm fan up in front. That came stock with the case, blue LED, so it looked alright. I left it, it's not too noisy. Then we've got a 120mm fan on the back side of the hard drive cage that blows right into the two video cards. I've done water cooling in the past on video cards and CPUs. I've actually got a cooler that I could put into this case. But I just wanted to try these cards with a stock cooling. I hadn't personally owned the 260 before this, and I just wanted to see how it would handle with a stock air cooler, and I gotta say I'm very impressed. I don't see any temperatures. You know, in game occasionally I'll see, I use EVGA Precision, and occasionally I'll see that they had gotten up to about 50 degrees or something, 51 degrees, with the fans running at 75%. So for me, that's satisfactory. You know, with a mild overclock on them, that's not too bad for me. Anyway, yeah, just went with a stock airflow on those. The airflow on this case, the whole idea was to go front to back. I didn't want a huge fan down on the bottom pushing air up because I thought it kind of obstructed the airflow, the general airflow in this case. So we went with a kind of front to back design. The video cards natively, with the stock coolers, you know, bring air from the front of the case and shoot it out the back. So I thought it was appropriate with my hard drive bay just to leave those two fans there, kind of a stock positioning for it. And then I actually mounted another 140mm fan in the drive bay up there. Kind of did a slight custom mod to get that in there. They sell brackets, you can put those in there. Thermaltake will provide brackets that mount that fan in there. I didn't like the brackets because it was kind of an obstruction to airflow, so I designed some L brackets in there and mounted it myself. That 140mm fan supplies a huge amount of airflow through this AIO water cooler, which is key with one of these. I'll go ahead and take a minute to talk about that. AIO water cooler, it's by no means the most performance-oriented thing out there. I've had it around for a while now and just decided to put it in this case. You could go out and buy, you know, a $60 air cooling system, or just air cooler for the CPU that would do, you know, better than this AIO. But this is a water cooler, very entry level. If you're wanting to get into water cooling and you're not comfortable going with a full-blown water cooler, that's a good choice. It does, you know, it does a very good job. I spent $40 on it, and it keeps the CPU at like 32 degrees, you know, idle. In game, I use core temp, and I have seen it get up to about 43, I believe. I think that's about the highest I've seen it get up to. The noise you notice in this case actually comes from a fan mod I did on the chipset there. I added a Manhattan fan. It's a ball bearing fan. I'm probably going to pull that out of there and put a quieter one in, because that thing just rattles like no other. Not going out, but it's just a noisy fan. So, the whole key with that AIO is to provide a lot of airflow. It's got two 80mm radiators on it, and then an 80mm fan in the middle of the two radiators. That fan really does not do a good enough job pushing air through those radiators. The radiators are smaller size, so it needs a lot of airflow. 140mm fan in the back of the case kind of takes care of that problem, though. Pulls the air out of there very nicely.